Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a game about how the Jedi and the Sith both fail. It tears apart their dogma, questions the idea of moral certainty, and gives us Kreia, a character who exists almost entirely to challenge that binary. But then you look at the mechanics, and the game starts rewarding you for picking a side. Light side bonuses, dark side bonuses, prestige classes, alignment locked abilities, even your personal lightsaber crystal. All of it pushes you towards one-sided commitment. The game rewards extremism. You see, I received a comment on my video, Deafened or Killed, from a viewer named KOTOR.
As much as I love this game, there is one thing that bothers me about it. After countless playthroughs, I am always left wondering why the developers did not allow for a reasonable means for the player to remain neutral in their morality. KOTOR 2 rightfully criticizes the dogmatic and destructive philosophies associated with the light side and the dark side. Despite this, the gameplay encourages the player to pick between the two moral extremes, and thus pushes the player to reject the game's criticism it levies against both moral dogmas because the player is simply trying to optimize their character.
KOTOR is saying the story tells me one thing, but the mechanics tell me another. And if I want to optimize my character, if I want to be as effective as I can be, I have to ignore what the game is trying to say. This is not an unreasonable take. Fans of KOTOR 2 would tell a new player to ignore the alignment system, make the choices how you would honestly make them, and you can still finish the game without min-maxing everything. And that's true for two reasons, one narrative and one mechanical. Narratively, the Jedi exile is a wound in the Force, which means they are free in a way most Force users are not. I suspect this was done because a choice-driven RPG in a universe with the Force wouldn't make sense otherwise. Mechanically, game designers are well aware of gamers' habit of chasing a power fantasy. Lead designer of Civilization 4, Soren Johnson, once said, "Given the opportunity, players will optimize the fun out of a game." Building the strongest character you can is an accomplishment in itself, but it can and does reduce the enjoyment. How many times have you heard people say that Darth Nihilus is weak by the time you fight him? But if you want to push your character to their limit in KOTOR 2 specifically, you'll have no choice but to fully commit to either the light or the dark side. Prestige classes, stat bonuses, force power costs, even entire sections of the game are dependent upon your alignment. And on top of that, to get as strong as you can, you'll have to take strength from sources that aren't your own.
Healing a dead planet is one thing, Chodohabat, and healing a Jedi severed from the Force is quite another. You speak well enough, Chodohabat, but perhaps you see all this as your chance to exert your own hold over others. It is a more primal connection you feel, and the hunger you feel does not stem from Han-Ha. It is something you may draw upon, his very life, if need be. He does not realize how deeply his life debt runs, but he will. When you suffer, call upon that hunger, and the beast shall be that upon which your will may draw strength. Reach out, feel his presence within the ship, clawing at you, pacing. Feel the rumbling of the hull, the metal around you like a cage, and the building anger, the blood that rises behind the eyes, a bloodlust that cannot be sated. If you accept it, you will find your strength increase and your vitality return to you faster with every breath. Forsake it, deny it, and you will deny power.
KOTOR 2 tries to teach you to ignore your alignment in the Force, while simultaneously presenting you with these game mechanics. This is the heart of KOTOR's critique, and this was my response. The Force will reward you for being an extremist. It makes you easier to influence. Remaining balanced should be more difficult. The easiest path is the dark side. The harder path is the light side. The hardest path is refusing the Force altogether. Both the light and the dark grant you power, and the Force has a will. We hear this throughout Star Wars. Trust in the Force. Let the Force guide you. May the Force be with you. But if the Force has a will, that means it wants something. And what it wants, according to the Jedi, is balance. To achieve this, it requires agents, predictable ones. Lightsiders and Darksiders are both predictable. Regardless of what they call themselves, the Force can work with two opposing orders. But if the Force has a will, and it rewards alignment, then those rewards are not neutral. They are incentives. Kreia sees all of this.
Because I hate the Force. I hate that it seems to have a will, that it would control us to achieve some measure of balance when countless lives are lost.
She sees the constant wars throughout the billions of years of the Force's crusade for balance. She sees the binary nature of it all, of light and dark, endlessly falling and rising again to meet the other, and comes to a fairly reasonable conclusion. How is this not intentional? So she chooses to fight against it.
If you walk Korriban's surface, you shall walk it without me. This place is strong with the dark side. It is difficult to center myself here.
She refuses to give in to its influence, understanding that someone neutral who thinks for themselves is difficult to predict and thus difficult to control. Someone who relies on their own inherent abilities instead of Force powers is difficult to control.
And know that that is the true lesson of strength, to turn away from strength that is not your own.
The dark side of the Force is often described as being like a drug. Kreia makes a counter-argument and suggests that the Force in its entirety is like a drug, giving you power, making you feel good, and being extremely difficult to give it all up.
If you had traveled far enough, rather than waiting for the echo to reach you, perhaps you would have seen it for what it was, so close to understanding the Force, so close to giving it up.
The game and the lore supports the idea of resisting the Force's influence. Being an atheist in the Star Wars universe grants you resistance to the Force all by itself.
Revan believed that meatbags that did not use or believe in the Force were especially important, since in many respects, they were more difficult for Jedi to detect.
Something Kreia, and really any Force user, understands is that the Force's effect on you are quite heavily determined by your state of mind.
Revan claimed that psychological warfare against Jedi was important because much of their power comes from their state of mind, their connection to this religion called the Force.
Kreia is not an atheist. She knows that the Force is real, so the alternative is to stay centered in the Force. The game shows you that this works through the personal lightsaber crystal.
Picture yourself as a sieve, and the Force as water pouring into you. This crystal draws from the excess water that escapes the sieve.
The Force flows into the exile. Excess Force energy radiates off the exile and carries their characteristics. If the exile is neutral in their Force alignment, then those characteristics include one that resists the Force.
I had a question for you, Sister of the Echani. The exile. What does he look like?
Like a man, but it is more than that. And I do not have the words. His path is difficult to detect. Sometimes he chooses the shadowed path, but at other times he demonstrates a strange kindness.
The game is telling you, in its mechanics and in dialogue, that the exile's identity is not reducible to a simple mortal meter.
Does it matter? Of course it does. Such titles allow you to break the galaxy into light and dark, categorize it.
All of this is based on Kreia's teachings. But what about Kreia herself?
I wanted to ask you about the duels with Visas.
What of them?
You aren't just training me. You're testing her.
Perhaps. The Echani believe that much may be communicated in the motions of battle. It is a picture, a dance against someone trying to describe that motion.
What have you learned?
I have learned that we do not need to kill her. But if we want one that has truly fallen to the dark side, we should look elsewhere for our allies. I believe she should serve our purposes. She is the doorway that may lead us to her lord if it proves necessary, or bring him to us.
You want to use her?
That is what I said, and I will gladly turn any such blade pointed at us and send it stabbing into the heart against anyone who dares to harm you.
But I don't want you using anyone that way, even if they claim allegiance to the Sith.
And why is that? Please illuminate me.
Because people are not tools to be wielded.
Any being that gives up its will, that allows itself to be used in such a way, deserves such a fate.
So you're saying that if the Force uses us all, our lives deserve to be used and discarded?
Yes, that is what I am saying, but I did not expect you to say such. Perhaps it is time I considered my methods in this instance, but I will not deny that she could prove useful to us.
To think it over is all I ask. I don't want to use her. I want to help her.
I found it fascinating that you can both lose and gain influence with Kreia through this exchange, and I wanted to know the exact specifics to it. So I used the KOTOR save editor to investigate. The dialogue option that makes you lose 8 influence points is,
But I don't want you using anyone that way, even if they claim allegiance to the Sith.
a compassionate, conventionally good stance. Kreia no doubt thinks you're being naive. The dialogue that makes you gain exactly another 8 influence points is,
So you're saying that if the Force uses us all, our lives deserve to be used and discarded.
you turn her own argument right back at her, and the influence change is net 0. To understand why, just look at how Kreia responded. She didn't get upset, she didn't get defensive, she didn't reflexively double down on her stance in a desperate attempt to not be wrong. She sounded more impressed than anything, and it shows several things. It shows that Kreia didn't want a droid for a student and was content to see that she had one who could think for themselves on her level, to the point where they can actually challenge her and change her mind. It shows that Kreia is not an ideologue. Her teachings are not dogma to be followed, not exactly. Her teachings are the way they are to make you value thinking for yourself.
I am but a mirror whose only purpose is to show you what your own eyes cannot yet see.
She just tells you what you need to hear so that if you understand, you'll come to the conclusion she needs you to get to all on your own.
And the greatest of victories are not manipulations at all, but simply awakening others to the truth of what you believe, of hearing it echoed around you in life.
And it shows how the student can also sometimes teach the master. Kreia is usually the one saying,
That is all I ask.
after a teachable moment. Here, it's the exile asking Kreia to reflect on her behavior. And because the exile had a genuinely good point, Kreia listened. The Tomb of Ajunta Pall, another moment where disagreeing with Kreia brings approval and gains you influence with her.
This way leads to the tomb of Ajunta Pall, a fierce Sith Lord. According to legend, the blade proved more fearsome than the master, leading to his demise. Ajunta's dark spectre lived on through the centuries until Revan entered the Sith Lord's tomb in search of the blade. Revan calmed the angry ghost of Ajunta Pall and showed him the path back to the light.
You sound like you disapprove.
One who has fallen so far and done so much evil does not deserve redemption. In a way, such a turning from one's nature is cowardly, a betrayal of the self.
No one is beneath redemption, Kreia. No one.
Perhaps, but redemption is a form of spiritual collapse, a fall few recover from.
A student who just parrots her teacher is no different from a droid. And like I explained in Kreia's Conundrums Machines, Kreia does not like droids. She doesn't want you to be programmed.
I want you to learn to be human.
KOTOR was right about something important. If you're trying to optimize your character, KOTOR 2 pushes you towards the extremes. But that's not a failure of the game's philosophy. It's the game reflecting the logic of the Force itself. Remember, if the Force has a will, and it grants power based on alignment, then those rewards aren't neutral. They're incentives. The alignment system is not the reward structure of the game, it's the reward structure of the Force. That means that a centered playthrough should be harder. Not impossible, just harder. The easiest path is the dark side, the harder path is the light side, and the hardest path is refusing to let the Force, the alignment bar, meta optimization, or backseaters in the chat tell you who to be. The exile is someone who can truly 100% be fully responsible for their own actions, just like you. That's why Kreia's teachings matter. She isn't really telling you to worship neutrality as some sacred ideal. Extreme balance is just another form of extremism. She's telling you that your alignment doesn't define who you are. It reflects what you've done and what you're willing to become.
Do not let the higher mysteries blind you to others. Turning away from that which tempts you or causes you fear is not strength. Facing it is. I have seen you display many acts of mercy, charity in our journey. Why?
Playing the meta is all well and good if that's what you enjoy, but I cannot fully express the sense of accomplishment I felt when I completed both KOTOR games using a stealth build. No matter the build, trust that you can find a way.
Trust in your training. Trust in yourself.
I remember the hipster craze of the early to mid 2010s. I always saw that subculture as a group of people desperately trying to be unique, when in reality they were just copies of each other. I always say that the easiest way for you to be unique is to be yourself. In all of humankind, there is only one of you, and it's that uniqueness to our species that makes human lives special to us. Thank you for watching. An extra special thank you goes out to KOTOR for that thought-provoking comment, to Caterus Meow for lending me her voice, and of course to all my channel members. If you like this video, then you'll definitely like this one. People think that Kreia's plan to deafen the galaxy to the Force would automatically result in a galaxy-wide mass extinction event. But is that really true? Find out more here. Until next time, have a good one.